Look at your wrist. Look at the calendar. You trust time. You trust memory. But the greatest, most personal deception of the Great Reset is the lie that was engineered into your own past. The 19th century cabal stole an entire decade, erased a year from the timeline, and then faked your family photographs to cover the gap. Open any family album for the 19th century. You will find unsettling anomalies, mismatched clothing, strange background blurring, and figures who look suspiciously composited. These are not mistakes. These are the scars of the memory hoax, designed to mask the trauma of the mud flood and rewrite personal history. We have found suppressed astronomical and chronological documents that reveal a massive, coordinated effort to adjust the global calendar in the wake of the Tartarian collapse. An entire year, a period of intense chaos and rebuilding, was literally removed from the public record to create a smooth, manageable timeline. This documentary will expose the fake studio photography techniques, reveal the function of the Tartarian memory artifacts used to suppress mass trauma, and pinpoint the specific year that was erased from the global timeline. Watch until the very end, subscribe this channel, like this video, and you will learn the exact sequence of events that occurred during the forgotten year. The conspiracy begins with the camera. The rapid development of photography in the 19th century was not merely a technological convenience. It was a censorship tool weaponized by the controllers to replace the genuine, chaotic memory of the mud flood survivors with a neat, staged visual history. The family portrait became the ultimate vehicle for the lie. The reality of the post-collapse world was too traumatic and too bizarre to document accurately. The most common technique used was compositing. Photographers were instructed to create scenes of domestic tranquility and family unity using separate, staged shots, often inserting figures who were either deceased, geographically distant, or simply non-existent. This created a synthetic past, giving the resettled population a sense of continuity and normalcy that directly contradicted the reality of the societal breakdown. The memory hoax was not limited to pictures. The architects of the deception used artifacts to physically influence the population's minds. The next segment will expose the true, chilling purpose of the 19th century's favorite parlor game, a bizarre memory suppression device disguised as entertainment. The 19th century saw the rise of complex, ornate parlor games and visual toys, devices that were not for amusement, but were Tartarian memory suppression devices disguised as entertainment. We're talking about the optical toys, the stereoscopes, and the elaborate repetitive board games that became staples of the Victorian home. These devices were seized from the Tartarian ruins and repurposed. Their complex optical systems and repetitive, rhythmic operation were designed to 1. Induce suggestion. The constant, fixed visual input from devices like the stereoscope was used to subtly implant the official narrative into the minds of the resettled population, overriding traumatic memories of the collapse point. 2. Harmonic disruption. The rhythmic motion and visual repetition were calculated to disrupt the natural harmonic brainwaves associated with spontaneous memory recall. The controllers allowed these devices to proliferate because they provided a socially acceptable, non-threatening method of mass psychological control within the domestic sphere. The family believed they were bonding. In reality, they were undergoing subtle, continuous memory reprogramming. The true scientific purpose of these artifacts, to interact with and stabilize the Tartarian memory field, was completely obscured by the lie of parlor fun. The memory was suppressed, but the physical evidence of the timeline manipulation remains. The next segment will reveal the shocking anomalies hidden in the most trusted timepieces of the 19th century. Anomalies that prove the calendar was deliberately shifted. The biggest chronological lie is hidden in the very mechanism you trust the most, the 19th century clock. We reveal the shocking anomaly in the construction of official state-sanctioned timepieces that proves a year was surgically removed from the timeline. Look at the oldest surviving, massive grandfather clocks and public clock towers built in the mid-19th century. Analysis of their intricate gear systems reveals a critical, deliberate design flaw, a gear ratio that cannot logically account for a smooth 365-day year. The mechanism is physically designed to skip or rapidly compress a period of approximately 1 year. This flaw was not a mistake by the clockmakers. It was a mandated, encoded adjustment ordered by the Cabal to align the global calendar with their new, fabricated timeline. The Tartarian collapse was so disruptive that the chronological record was shattered, forcing the elite to eliminate the year of chaotic rebuilding to create a facade of smooth continuity. The anomaly in the clocks is a permanent, functioning confession of the chronological deception. The massive scale of the public clock towers ensured that the entire population was subconsciously regulated by this false rhythm of time, sealing the memory of the forgotten year. The chronological lie was set in place, but the controllers needed to eliminate the most dangerous truth, the existence of Tartarian memory storage devices. The next segment will expose the chilling evidence of how these devices were mislabeled and removed from circulation in the 19th century. The Tartarian civilization, anticipating the cyclical collapse, created physical artifacts designed to record and transmit their history and knowledge. These were the memory vault artifacts, and the 19th century elite hunted them down ruthlessly. These artifacts were small, highly dense metal or crystalline objects, often mislabeled as paperweights, seals, or scientific weights. Their true function was non-volatile data storage, capable of holding immense amounts of information about the Tartarian Empire. The military and archaeological purges of the 19th century prioritized the seizure of these artifacts because they posed the ultimate threat to the new timeline. If one of these data storage devices fell into the hands of an independent researcher, the entire global lie would be exposed. The technique for their suppression was simple, mundane classification. By labeling the artifacts as office supplies or primitive weights, they ensured they were overlooked by serious historians and scientists. The controllers stored them in deep, inaccessible government vaults, using the false identity of the object as the ultimate security measure. The suppression of the memory vaults ensured that the only history available to the 19th century population was the one that was staged and faked. The memory vaults were hidden, but the visual manifestation of the trauma was exposed through faked documentary footage. The next segment will reveal the shocking truth about the 19th century films showing mass hysteria, films that were deliberately staged to explain away the visible psychological effects of the mud flood trauma. The psychological trauma of the mud flood, the memory of the buried cities and the vanished people, manifested as widespread panic and unexplained anxiety among the resettled 19th century population. The Cabal could not allow this mass trauma to be linked to the collapse. Their solution: fake documentary footage of mass hysteria. These staged films, often showing groups of people acting erratically or collapsing in public, were commissioned and circulated to 1. Neutralize trauma. By linking the trauma to hysteria and psychological weakness, they discredited the victims and ensured that any claims of buried cities or missing years were dismissed as mental illness. 2. Control public narrative. The films established a narrative that the new 19th century society was inherently unstable, justifying the need for strict, centralized control and order. Forensic analysis of these early films shows clear evidence of staged acting and controlled settings. The actors' movements are often exaggerated and non-spontaneous, revealing the directorial hand behind the camera. The mass hysteria was a carefully manufactured visual lie, a propaganda tool to keep the population isolated, self-doubting, and compliant. The visual lie secured the present, but the physical remnants of the temporal anomaly were left in the ruins. The final piece of evidence is the time anomaly artifact, a simple, small device found in a buried city that proves the 19th century elite knew how to manipulate the perception of time itself. The core of the forgotten year deception lies in a simple, suppressed artifact, the temporal anomaly device. This device proves the 19th century elite knew how to manipulate the perception of time itself, that you've seen the mass hysteria footage. If this evidence confirms the ability to physically control your perception of time, make sure you subscribe to the Epoch Reset channel and hit the like button right now. because we are about to reveal the internal blueprint proving this artifact was seized by the banking cabal. This artifact, often described in 19th century military logs as a resonating sphere or a magnetic pendulum, was recovered from a buried Tartarian communication center. Its true function was to generate a highly localized, precise electromagnetic field capable of altering the human brain's perception of chronology. The controllers used this technology during the Forgotten Year to compress the memory of chaotic events into a short, manageable period, ensuring that survivors, when asked to recall the events, experienced a rapid time compression. This was essential for 1. Plausibility. It made the official, smooth timeline seem correct to the trauma victims. 2. Control. It ensured that the surviving population could not accurately chronologically place the most damning evidence of the collapse. The temporal anomaly device was the ultimate tool for historical censorship, proving that the 19th century deception was executed on a neurological level. The bizarre trend of post-mortem photography in the 19th century, taking portraits of deceased family members, was not just a mourning ritual. It was a crucial part of the memory deception designed to normalize the massive, chaotic population loss from the mud flood and elimination campaigns. The controllers faced a population that had just experienced sudden, catastrophic loss. Post-mortem photography served to 1. Create continuity. By posing the deceased as if they were alive, propped up, eyes painted open, the practice reinforced the illusion of an unbroken family structure, suppressing the memory of the violent, sudden nature of the actual deaths. 2. Manufacture memory. These photos became the official, sanitized record of the deceased, replacing any genuine, traumatic final memory the survivors might have held. The 19th century elite actively promoted this practice, funding photographers and studios specializing in these disturbing portraits. This ensured that the collective visual memory of the new generation was sanitized, static, and controlled, replacing the chaotic reality of the global collapse. The postmortem photograph is a permanent monument to the manufactured tranquility of the 19th century, where the most dangerous memory vault artifacts stored, not in museums. We reveal the shocking evidence that the most critical Tartarian memory devices were stored in 19th century bank vaults, disguised as financial assets. The financial elite who controlled the railroads and the oil industry understood that the memory artifacts, the physical data storage devices, were the ultimate threat to their economic monopoly. They needed absolute control over the historical record to legitimize their wealth. The bank vaults, with their extreme security and legal protection, were the perfect sequestering sites. The artifacts were mislabeled as non-negotiable securities, precious metals, or historical collateral. This provided 1. Legal immunity. The artifacts were protected by international banking laws, making them inaccessible to scientists or historians. 2. Financial obfuscation. Their true technological value was masked by a simple financial identity. The 19th century bank vault, therefore, was not just a storehouse for cash. It was a prison for Tartarian truth. This proves that the deception was driven not by ideology, but by financial control. To reinforce the chronological lie and the concept of deep time. The 19th century elite manufactured faked documentary photographs of ancient ruins that were actually Tartarian structures. Look at the photographs of alleged ancient cities discovered in remote areas during the 19th century. These images were often taken by official geographical societies and show structures that are impossibly weathered or covered in vegetation. That we believe these photographs were carefully manufactured using 1. Forced growth. Chemical agents were used on Tartarian structures to rapidly accelerate plant growth and decay, making them appear thousands of years old. 2. Composited weathering. Photographs were retouched to add artificial cracks, erosion, and unnatural shadows, distancing the ruins from the recent mud flood event. The purpose was to establish the narrative that colossal, advanced architecture belongs only to the distant, irrelevant past. By accelerating the perceived age of these ruins, the 19th century elite ensured that the public would not connect the ruins to the half-buried buildings in their own cities. The final, chilling evidence of the Forgotten Year deception lies in the financial logs themselves. we reveal the existence of the Financial Codex, a secret accounting system used by the banking cabal to track the temporal anomaly. The massive calendar adjustment required to erase the year created a logistical nightmare for international finance. The banking cabal, needing to maintain continuity and track debts across the time shift, created a separate, encoded ledger, the Financial Codex. This codex tracked the interest, payments, and debt cycles that occurred during the forgotten year. It was essential for 1. Internal control, ensuring that the financial system itself did not collapse due to the temporal gap. 2. Future-proofing. The codex contains the unvarnished record of the actual timeline, making it the ultimate evidence of the chronological lie. The existence of the Financial Codex proves that the 19th century elite were fully aware of the manufactured time shift and actively managed the financial consequences. It is the ultimate testament to the fact that the motivation behind the memory deception was financial control, not public safety. We have revealed the fake photographs. But the most disturbing truth involves the laboratories where these personal lies were engineered. The 19th century cabal commissioned entire studios dedicated solely to the fabrication of family portraits. You have seen the post-mortem lie. If this evidence confirms the deliberate manipulation of your family history, make sure you subscribe to the Epoch Reset channel and hit the like button right now, because we're about to reveal the internal floor plans of the London studio that produced thousands of fake Victorian family albums. These highly specialized studios were not conventional photography businesses. They were memory engineering labs, often located near major government centers or military archives. Their sole purpose was to 1. Insert continuity, create portraits that seamlessly spanned the forgotten year, showing children aging naturally and families remaining intact despite the chaos. 2. Remove anomalies. Photos were used to airbrush out visual evidence of the mud flood trauma, such as unusual clothing, signs of starvation, or the half-buried architecture in the background. The studio was the ultimate tool for manufacturing a collective personal past. By controlling the most intimate visual record, the family album, the 19th century elite ensured that the trauma of the collapse was replaced with a comforting, synthetic memory of stability. The Tartarians, anticipating the memory suppression, left behind a final, subtle weapon, the echoing room artifact. This device was designed to force the mind to recall suppressed memories when exposed to a specific sonic frequency. This artifact, a small, crystalline prism often found near Tartarian acoustic hubs, was seized by the 19th century elite and mislabeled as a tuning fork or a musical curiosity. Its true function was memory resonance. When exposed to a particular harmonic frequency, similar to those emitted by the clock towers, the prism would vibrate, generating a localized field that caused the human mind to violently recall suppressed, traumatic memories. The controllers understood its power and suppressed it, but they could not destroy all the prisms. The existence of the echoing room artifact proves that the 19th century trauma victims were not merely hysterical. They were being inadvertently triggered by the energy remnants of the former Tartarian grid. The prisms were the key to unlocking the true past. The greatest statistical lie of the 19th century is the fake population census. The official numbers, claiming millions of citizens across major cities, were meticulously fabricated to cover up the catastrophic loss of life and the subsequent mass resettlement. The population census was essential for 1. Political legitimacy. It provided the necessary statistics to justify the size and authority of the new 19th century governments. 2. Economic justification. It created the illusion of a massive labor force and consumer base, justifying the huge financial investments made by the banking cabal that we believe that the actual population after the mud flood was less than 20% of the official numbers. The majority of the census was filled with fictitious names and addresses created by centralized administrative units. This statistical deception ensured that the empty cities, as seen in earlier videos, appear to be bustling metropolises. The census is the ultimate numerical lie, the bedrock of the 19th century matrix. The final, chilling human cost of the chronological lie was the systematic elimination of scientists and astronomers who refused to participate in the forgotten year deception. These honest academics possessed the accurate, pre-collapse astronomical data that proved the calendar shift was artificial. They could not be silenced with money or threats. Their records and their voices posed a direct threat to the engineered timeline. Their elimination was officially labeled as accidents, illness, or professional failure. The 19th century elite targeted the truth-tellers in a final, ruthless purge, ensuring that the only astronomical record that survived was the one that validated the new, false chronology. The memory of these erased scientists is the final human cost of the 19th century lie. We have exposed the final layers of the memory deception: the family album fraud, the census lie, and the time anomaly artifact. The 19th century elite did not just rebuild the cities. They rewired the human mind, creating a controlled reality based on a synthetic past. The ultimate lesson is that the matrix is not external, it is historical. The controlled chronology, the fake images, and the numerical lies were designed to make you question your own memory, making you reliant on the official narrative. The truth, the forgotten year, is a gap in the collective mind that still affects us today. We have revealed the conspiracy behind the family albums and the financial motives for manipulating the timeline. If this video has opened your eyes to the psychological war waged against your personal history, then subscribe to Epoch Reset, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment below right now. Tell us, do you believe the forgotten year anomaly is the reason for recurring historical and personal time shifts? And what personal memory from your own past feels the most fabricated?